So next we're going to make these into rigid bodies and want them to react like rigid body dynamic objects, not just particles. And to do this, we're going to add a simulate node. So by typing simulate, we can see simulate particles and simulate rigid bodies. We're going to do simulate rigid bodies, and we're going to connect this into the terminal node as the final connection. Yep. So now if I hit play, they start floating up because there is, if you look at here, the emit from particles, there is an initial speed set to 5. We're going to turn that to 0 so they don't actually move from here, but only move based on the force. And we're going to give them two forces, a point force and a gravity force. Let's start by adding in our point force. So we're going to go to forces, and let me just add force, and we're going to connect this in here, but we need to make an extra node between these two. Just right mouse, insert port before, and we'll just hook this one into port 2. Great. And then we're going to get a point force. Now the point force allows you to have a force from a single point. If you connect it in, by default it's set to attract. I want this to react more like an explosion, so we're going to say we're going to repel. The moment is set for 0, 0, 0, and if I hit play, it's pushing them all out together because it's working from the center. To make it work from our point position, we have a little null located here, and the null has got a box shape, and we're just going to take that null into a scene, F3, and just drag it in, and we're going to connect the null to the force center. Now if we just connect it straight off, it's not going to connect. We need to get a certain attribute of a null, so we're going to explore inside of a null, take the kinematics, global position, and by using global position for the force center, now it's going to use that null as where to push things from, and now we'll see everything's getting pushed from a null, but nothing's really hitting each other yet. Eventually they will hit each other if we let it go for a while, but they're all getting pushed pretty evenly because the point force, we're not using a cutoff distance yet. So we'll use the cutoff distance. Of course now nothing happens because this is a pretty large scene, so knowing the size of your scene is very important. I'm going to set this cutoff distance to 50. And now if I push them, you'll notice the first few particles should move. There's a fall off curve as well, so they're moving pretty slowly at this point, but eventually they will hit another chair, and that chair will hit another chair, and you'll get the kind of cascading effect of rigid bodies. We're going to give us a lot more force because I want this to be like an explosion, so we're going to go up to about 100. And now it's working, but there's a small problem that they're all falling through the ground, and they're not necessarily, they're floating through air. There's no gravity. We've got like chairs in space. So the next thing is gravity. So it's just another force, and we just bring the gravity force in as well, and we'll link that one into forces. That's mine. Looks like I linked it in there by accident. Let me just rehook that and hook our gravity force in. And now if we hit play, it works, but now everything's falling down, and they're all falling through the ground. So the final step here is to hook in our obstacle. So we have our forces that now drive the particles forward, and next we're going to hook in the obstacle, and then we're going to start working with the rigid body attributes to make sure everything works correctly.